August 6, 1945 began like any other summer morning in Hiroshima. The sky was clear, the air was heavy with heat, and the city slowly came to life after years of war fatigue. Children prepared for school. Workers walked through the streets. Mothers opened windows without knowing it would be the last ordinary action of their lives. Hiroshima had been largely spared from major bombings, and many believed the city was not a priority target. When a brief air raid alert sounded early that morning and was quickly canceled, people relaxed and returned to their routines, unaware that high above them a single aircraft was approaching, carrying a weapon never before used on human beings. At exactly 8:15 a.m., the bomb was released, and for a few silent seconds it fell through the sky as if time itself had stopped. Then a light brighter than anything imaginable exploded over the city. It was not just an explosion. It was a moment beyond comprehension. A white flash that erased shadows, buildings, bodies, and time itself. People closest to the epicenter did not have time to feel pain. They were instantly vaporized by temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun. Others were burned into walls and stairways, leaving behind dark human silhouettes frozen forever. Within a fraction of a second, the heat ignited clothes, skin peeled away, and the air itself burned the lungs of those still alive. Immediately after came the shockwave, a violent, invisible force that crushed buildings, hurled trams through the streets, and flattened entire neighborhoods. Hospitals collapsed, schools vanished, thousands died without ever understanding what had happened. And when the roar faded, an unnatural silence followed, broken only by the sound of fire consuming what little remained. Hiroshima was not destroyed slowly. It was erased in a single heartbeat. As a massive mushroom cloud rose into the sky visible from miles away, humanity crossed a line it would never return from. Because in that moment, the world learned that it now possessed the power to erase a city in seconds. When the light disappeared and the shockwave passed, Hiroshima did not fall silent. It began to scream. From the ruins emerged figures that barely looked human. People with burned skin hanging from their bodies, walking aimlessly with arms extended, because touching themselves caused unbearable pain. Many did not realize they were fatally wounded. All they felt was an intense thirst, a burning sensation that drove them toward the rivers, where hundreds collapsed into the water and never rose again. Survivors searched desperately for children, parents, and friends, calling names that received no answer. Only ash and broken bodies. The hospitals that still stood were overwhelmed or unusable. Doctors and nurses were dead or severely injured. There was no medicine, no clean water, and no understanding of what kind of weapon had caused this. Hours later, a thick black rain began to fall, oily and dark, made of ash, debris, and radiation. Many drank it thinking it would help them survive, not knowing it was poisoning them from the inside. As night fell, the city continued to burn, and those who remained alive realized they had survived something worse than instant death. In the days that followed, strange symptoms appeared: uncontrollable vomiting, bleeding, hair falling out, high fevers. People who seemed unharmed suddenly collapsed and died. No one understood why. Hiroshima had become a living experiment, where thousands of men, women, and children would pay the price of a weapon that did not stop killing after the explosion. It continued silently, invisibly, inside the human body, while the outside world analyzed photographs and reports. Inside the city, there was no strategy or politics, only human beings trying to survive in a landscape that looked like the end of the world. In the weeks that followed, as bodies were still being recovered from the ruins, the impact of Hiroshima spread far beyond. Japan military reports spoke of success and efficiency, but the human cost was almost impossible to grasp. Tens of thousands dead instantly, tens of thousands more dying slowly, without visible wounds when news reached. The rest of the world, many celebrated the possibility of the war ending. Few understood the true price that had been paid. Only with time did the survivors become known. Men and women who continued to die years later from cancers and unknown diseases, children born with deformities, family shattered long after the explosion had faded. Hiroshima was rebuilt, but it was never truly restored, because beneath its streets lay a permanent warning. Humanity had proven it could destroy itself in a single decision. From that moment on, every global conflict carried an unspoken question. What if it happens again? The atomic bomb did not simply end the war. It created a new era based on fear, deterrence, and the constant possibility of total annihilation. Hiroshima stopped being just a city and became a message to the entire world, a reminder of what happens when technology advances faster than ethics. And even today, decades later, the legacy of Hiroshima is not peace, but caution. Because since August 6, 1945, humanity has lived knowing that the apocalypse is not a myth, not a divine punishment, but a human invention, and it has already been tested once.